Firstly, it's a great privilege to be in front of so many senior executives in the North Texas community. So really the pleasure is all mine to have the opportunity to speak to everyone. And I believe we have about 20 minutes to give a quick presentation. So today the focus is on strategic technology trends for 2017. And instead of covering some of the 20 or 30 or so trends on the radar, today we're going to try and step back a little bit and look at some of the more macro level trends that I think are very important for companies as you embark on various digital transformation journeys. So this is really kind of stepping up a level, getting out from the weeds and trying to take a more strategic look at some of the kind of mega trends out there in the industry. So you can see here, basically we'll be covering disruptive technologies, but really looking at them more from a combination standpoint, not the discrete technologies themselves, but more of the technology combinations and how you can unlock value through those combinations. Also platform business models. This should be very interesting to tech titans and the community here. This is all about partnerships and ecosystems and unlocking value through that kind of business model. So I think that will be a key item today to cover. We're also going to talk about digital services mastery, and I'll kind of explain that a bit more as we go. And there's some interesting analogies here that we can talk about. And then finally, innovation management, and this is another topic that I think will be very interesting to the community. I've been working with Henry Chesbrough, who you may know, one of the grandfathers of the open innovation movement, and he just recently issued a paper about cities. And the theory now is that cities can become key hubs for innovation. And so a lot of the scholars and academics are really seeing cities like Dallas, Boston, San Francisco, and obviously many others, being key incubators for innovation in the years to come. So definitely encourage you to take a look at that paper, and I'm happy to forward that to you to take a look. So really the challenge, you may be seeing something similar here in terms of the challenge when you look at some of the emerging technologies on the radar. One of the issues is there's just so many out there. So we've got 3D printing, we've got platform business models, blockchain is hitting the headlines, mobile payments, etc. So how do you really kind of make sense of this and put together a corporate strategy around these? So, clearly you can have a specific strategy around the IoT, for example, or cloud technology, but also how do you weave this all together into a top-level corporate strategy? So that's really the challenge, trying to see the forest from the trees. So with that in mind, last year I worked on a book called Mastering Digital Business, and I tried to look at some of the best practices from some leading companies. So obviously Uber, Apple, Amazon, but also a few more others that you may not really be too familiar with. So we looked at Government UK, the UK government and the Government Digital Service over in the UK. And we also looked at the Formula One team with Mercedes. So had the opportunity to speak to their head of IT for Mercedes and to really kind of see what they were doing to produce results. And the interesting thing is when we looked across all these companies, we found they had a very common DNA in terms of how they were going about digital transformation. So really it all came down to those 4 items that we saw on the previous slide. So it's really about using combinations of disruptive technology, thinking about platform business models, becoming a master of digital services, and then really connecting innovation with strategy and execution. and really connecting that corporate innovation program. So it's part of the company strategy. So looking at these strategic themes, there's a lot, when you think about digital transformation, there's a lot of commonality here, common recurring themes that we see. Obviously leadership, culture, digital skills, change management, governance, and so on. But there's also some new themes that we found were very important. So the 4 themes here that we'll talk about today. So I think really success is about mastering these new capabilities, but also being world class at some of the perennial themes. Obviously leadership and culture. So the first theme really, in terms of strategic technology themes, we're going to talk about moving from discrete technologies to combinations. And so what we've seen over the years is, if you think back about 5 years, we saw what we call the SMAC stack, so social, mobile, analytics, and cloud. Those became the fundamental building blocks for business applications. So giving consumers and workers those characteristics of social features, mobile access, deploying in the cloud, and then also some analytic capabilities. So today we're really kind of moving more to the right, where we're seeing a new wave of technology enablers coming into play. So the SMAC stack is really now table stakes in terms of consumer usage. So really the way to differentiate is to start building in new technologies, maybe pulling in the IoT, Internet of Things, devices, pulling in some kind of intelligent automation, and really kind of putting on that extra layer of functionality. So that's where a lot of the innovation is happening right now, and a lot of differentiation. But it's all built on the SMAC stack, the foundation. And then also we're seeing an evolution to platform business models. So these are basically the business models, a bit like Uber, Airbnb, and so on. But obviously we're also seeing it with companies like GE with their Predix operating system for their customers. So a very powerful business model. So basically these are some of the key trends that we see in 2017. So you have that lower layer of digital experience essentials. These are the fundamental building blocks. And then the enhancers are really at the top layer. So it's things like IoT, intelligent automation, personalization, context, and then also we're seeing a lot of advances obviously in cybersecurity and security intelligence. So some very big market potential here as well if you're a technology company. IoT, massive market, intelligent automation as well. And then wearables are seeing quite a strong growth rate as well. So when we talk about technology combinations, this diagram is intended to kind of show you how this works. So if you're a CIO, you may be on the right-hand side of this chart, and you're basically leveraging emerging technologies to maybe optimize your infrastructure or simplify your management of that infrastructure. So you're pulling from cloud, automation technologies, IoT, etc. If you're a CMO or a chief digital officer, you're basically pulling from the left-hand side. So you're building applications and you're incorporating social functionality, mobility, and so forth. And so you can really kind of take those combinations and apply them for different target business outcomes that you can see in the outer circle. And then just to show the power of these combinations, even if you look at an IoT business model like Industry 4.0, that's basically the vision in Germany for the future of manufacturing. When you look at some of their strategic papers and vision, you get to find out that it's more than just IoT. So these are all requirements from their vision, and you can see it's really weaving in social features, analytics, and so on. So, even if you look at a supposedly IoT business model in manufacturing, we see the same kind of patterns emerging. So I think the a quick recommendation here is really to think about these combinations in your business and think how you can apply them at either the industry level, business model, even business process level, and for various purposes. And then which technologies can you really excel at and use as a differentiator in your applications. So the Ring doorbell that you may have seen on TV, they're really kind of excelling with IoT. It's obviously an IoT device, but when you look at their model, you'll see they also have social features. You can share that. Some of the home automation technologies, you can use social features to kind of share that access with your family and so on. So you'll find a lot of commonality there, even if a company is excelling in one area. Then when we look at intelligent automation, what we're seeing here is a kind of a convergence with humans being increasingly instrumented and machines being socialized. So the interesting thing here is that there's a lot of different combinations of how humans and machines are starting to work together. And this is kind of a 2x2 that shows some different models that you may be familiar with in industry. So this may be an interesting guide for you as you think about how to apply automation in your business. So it goes all the way from a physical human working side by side with a physical machine on the factory floor. So things like the Sawyer robot that you can see down here, or some of the hospitality type robotics where they have little robots that are about 3 feet tall and they can deliver supplies to your hotel room, for example. And then also in healthcare, they're using these tug robots to deliver linens and so forth around the hospital. And these things, if you've seen them, if you've come across these devices, in the media or maybe actually seen one in person, they're very intelligent. So they can take the elevator, they know where to go. They're also socially aware. So if they come across someone in the hallway, they can kind of work their way around you. So the state of the art is kind of evolving very rapidly there. Okay, so, and then obviously you have the intelligent virtual agents too. And there's one called Amelia up there in the top right. This is a bit like a Siri or a Cortana, so it's a personal assistant. But the interesting thing here is it's being used in kind of a B2B model. So a lot of companies are using this as a intelligent virtual agent for help desk. And what they've seen is about a 30% cost savings in L1, level 1 help desk costs by using this virtual agent. The virtual agent speaks about 18 or so languages. It can understand if the customer is upset or angry, and so it's very cognitive, very aware, emotionally intelligent. And so the agent will actually hand off to a human being. If it's talking to interacting with the customer, if it realizes that customer is getting irate or needs further assistance, it can quickly hand off to the other human agents. So there's a lot of interesting things happening there. And from a cost savings perspective, I believe they've seen about a 30% cost savings for help desk. So the next one, platform business models. This one is kind of more of a business model strategic theme. It's probably one of the ones that I think is most attractive. And I think this is from IDC. So they're saying that by 2018, 80% of companies with an advanced digital transformation strategy will actually create or partner with industry ecosystems. So this trend is coming very quickly. So this is just 1 year away, and they're predicting that 80% of companies that are really on that leading edge around digital transformation will be kind of moving into this model. And so just to explain it a bit more, you're very familiar with the Netflix model or Uber. So they basically have that technology layer, just technology stack, and they can go from 0 to 50 billion in market valuation in 5 years. The reason they can do that is because they own no physical assets, so they're basically just a matchmaker. And or they may either be a matchmaker, or they may be simply providing a technology platform for innovation. So a bit like Microsoft, where you have a developer community, a developer ecosystem, and you can basically innovate on top of that platform. So that way you're not limited by your own pace of innovation, but you have an ecosystem of partners that are innovating on top and adding to your platform and adding value. So a very powerful model, and we've seen the market valuation about 4 times that of a typical company with a traditional supply chain and traditional products. So it's resonating in the financial markets as well. So I think this is a slide to just speak about how compelling the platforms are. I think I won't go through all the details, but I think one interesting quote was from IDC, where they also call it the industry cloud market, and they see it as actually representing one or maybe the most attractive opportunities, vertical growth opportunities for technology vendors or professional services firms through 2025. So not only is it the industry players, but also very attractive for systems integration companies, technology firms too. So just a quick look under the covers. This is GE Predicts. It's their operating system, their platform business model. And you'll find a lot of these models have a lot of commonality in their services. So they typically have a partner's cloud foundation. So maybe it's Microsoft Azure or AWS. And then they build on top of that with security, with governance, with data, with analytics, and then also some industry-specific applications and use cases. So GE has built this whole ecosystem for their B2B customers. So these are folks that are operating wind turbines or locomotives, and they're actually opening it up, the platform, to their customers' developers through APIs and service catalogs. So very powerful model, and GE can pull in partner services, maybe analytics, partner capabilities, but they also can open it up to their customers' developers. So very, very powerful model, and GE is actually has been one of the first out of the gate 2 or 3 years ago with this approach. So I think this is a very good best practice to take a look at. And then you can see that as we get into these platform business models, it really kind of changes the game in terms of how we think about innovation and how we collaborate with our partners in our ecosystem. So you can see here, this is something I'm actually working with Henry Chesborough on. It's a white paper that we've been working on, and we're basically looking at how platform business models are kind of changing the game for open innovation. So now you basically have to co-innovate with your core partners. Maybe those are some of the technology players. Maybe they're providing data services or analytics. But then also you have to co-innovate with your customers. So it's really kind of changing the nature of how we think about open innovation. So it's not just one product and a couple of partners now. It's really broadening out to a very, very large ecosystem. So it really kind of changes the way you have to think about how do you do market and competitive research. You've now got to start to think about researching ecosystems. Also, the ecosystem model can really change the types of applications that you can deliver to customers too. So it really kind of opens things up where you can actually even cross industry boundaries in your value proposition.
So Nicholas, I think it's, I'm interested in this slide in particular, is a lot of companies in this room can either be consumers of this concept or producers of this concept, which may shift our business model. What advice are you giving as we think about that? Do we do this? Do we do this?
Yeah, so that's right. There's a lot of strategic options. So, you could decide to build and deploy your own platform. You can basically participate in someone else's platform, or you could actually be an arms dealer and provide technology. And that's only just that's actually kind of owning and operating. And then there's a whole other dimension you mentioned in terms of either consuming or producing. So I think you may want to hedge, have kind of a hedging strategy, and maybe pursue many of those options. Maybe you've got a top one or two, but I think it should definitely be more than just one tactic. So I kind of think about what's happening in your industry, what ecosystems are popping up, strategically where do you want to be connected. So you may have, if you have a big player in the industry, you may decide that, hey, we've got to be part of GE's ecosystem, for example, as well as operating our own. So you can kind of hedge your bets a little bit. So this one is the third theme is on digital services mastery. And how are we doing for time?
You're at 21 minutes.
Sorry?
21 minutes.
Oh, okay. So we've got about 10 minutes left?
Yeah, about that.
Right. This one is in addition to the technology and kind of differentiating with the actual technology. It's what we found when we studied the UK government, and we looked at the Mercedes team, the Formula One team, and others. They're very agile as well. So it's not only about the product or service, but it's about the agility. How quickly can you design, develop, deploy, manage, and iterate around your digital service? So that it's kind of like the magician. The magician needs props. They need their props to do the magic trick, but they also need the sleight of hand. So it's the technique. And as we move into more of the economy being based on digital services, it's very important to have that agility in how quickly can you deploy and manage and maintain the services. So you've probably come across things like Agile and DevOps in the IT world. And really it's very important to connect the dots here and really think about the life cycle of how you deploy your services, and really think about going from agile development to deployment, putting it on the right infrastructure, automating as much as you can to take out cost. So automation, they reckon it will contribute 60 billion annually in US productivity improvements. So a lot of potential there for automation. And then how do you personalize those services to your customers? And then how do you manage those services? So it's really kind of a life cycle approach. And then here's some questions to think about if you want to kind of assess your maturity for digital services mastery. You can basically look at some of these questions and kind of see where you're at. And you may actually be a master of DevOps, but you may find you're maybe not doing enough in the automation space. So it's really about trying to improve the mastery across those dimensions. And then finally, innovation actually fits into this as well, because a lot of corporate innovation programs are geared to produce the big bets that you want for your business. Big bets that are going to generate significant revenue and change the business. So it's very important to connect that with the strategy of the company, and also to be able to execute and scale on these innovations. And what we've seen, I guess, with many corporate innovation programs is they're kind of a little bit siloed. They're not really connected. The outcomes aren't really being taken to scale. So one of the themes here is really about not just thinking about the ideation side. A lot of companies spend 80% of their focus on ideation and kind of doing that grunt work of, capturing hundreds of ideas and trying to sift through them. We think in the future, where the focus needs to go is really more about where do you play strategically on the front end, kind of world building, thinking about where you want to play, what the options are. As you mentioned with your question, very important to think about that kind of strategically, where do you place your chips. And then also the focus should be on the back end of the innovation life cycle in terms of how do you really kind of scale these ideas and develop the market traction. So there's a number of software companies in the space. We're working with one called Imaginatic, who are they're actually the number one player according to Forrester, one of the Forrester waves, and they're actually kind of moving in this direction. So they kind of see the ideation side as table stakes. All the innovation software companies, they all have ideation modules, but this company is really focused on helping customers with the more of the strategic front end, and then also how do you scale, and how do you have dashboards and analytics to help you measure improvements. So there's a lot happening here as well, and basically the recommendation is to take a look at your corporate innovation program and see if you can tweak it and fine tune it to align it with your transformation objectives. So basically what's going into that pipeline, what type of ideas are coming in, what's the flow rate, how quickly are you moving ideas from capture to actual projects, the flow rate and funding, and then what's your ability to scale. So we're seeing basically these are 5 recommendations here. Definitely drive it by what's important to customers. Focus on collaborative innovation. We have a program, client-facing innovation program, where we do innovation workshops with our customers, and it's just a half-day to a 2-day session, but it's all geared around their business objectives and their focus areas, and we pull in some of their subject matter experts, and that's a great way to kind of catalyze things and kind of keep things focused on the customer. So I think that's a big area as well. Is as you're thinking about digital business, think about these 4 areas, and how can you improve your mastery in each of those 4 areas, and then really connecting innovation so it's really serving that purpose. Okay. So I think
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate that.